During our last episode, we met Will. He's got a lifetime of adventures ahead of him. Today, we're going to meet April and Mac. They're going to show us how young adults with Down syndrome are a vital and important part of the fabric of life. Last week, I spent time with Will. Just like any other kindergartner his age, he's got tons of learning opportunities ahead. This week, I joined Mac, a freshman at Northern Kentucky University, to talk about college life, and April, a senior in high school, who's looking forward to reaching the goals she set for her future. April's past involvement with an array of activities has helped her become who she is today. At school, you were a cheerleader, right?
Yes.
What was that like?
It's kind of fun to be a cheerleader because I was having fun with my friends.
Now, you were also on the volleyball team?
Yes.
What was that like?
It was a great time. I was a manager for the volleyball team.
Oh, okay.
And
what'd you do?
I shot balls and I helped them get some water bottles for them. And I helped them get towels for them. I'm always cheering them on. And I went all the way to the States in the championship games, and so we won.
Now you've also participated in the Special Olympics?
Yes.
What did you do there?
I won some medals. So I came in second in freestyle, and I came in third for the backstroke, but really I don't like backstroke because it's so hard doing a backstroke.
So you like to swim?
I like to swim.
What's it like to be a senior in high school?
Sometimes it's hard to be a senior because a senior is time to move on. I don't want to leave school because it's so scary to move on.
Well, it's kind of a scary time for all seniors, isn't it? Because it means big change in your life. Yeah. Now, do you have any plans for the summer?
Yes, I do. My plans is I want to go to college for Xavier for a couple of classes, and I want to get a job.
What kind of classes are you thinking of taking at Xavier?
I might gonna take like reading, or probably more math, and probably more probably science. I love science, and I want to take like biology, and that's it.
Moving on to college is more attainable than it's ever been for young adults with Down syndrome. Mac, a college freshman, filled me in on all his activities. He is one of a growing number of students enrolled in college courses nationwide. His desire to successfully assimilate into society is just like other kids his age. Well, now that you're a college man, tell me what you like about people.
I like people. I like to hang with them. And to go out place, like see a movie.
Yeah.
Maybe shopping or bowling.
Just kind of hanging out. Huh?
Yeah.
You're working part-time also, right? Where you work at Kroger. What do you do there?
I do some baking, and I do some cards too, and clean the floor up.
Yeah. Employment of young adults with Down syndrome is on the rise. Sharissa works for the Down Syndrome Association of Greater Cincinnati and specializes in adult matters. Would you say there's a problem with employers offering jobs to adults with Down syndrome?
I wouldn't state it as a problem. I would say that it's a very positive thing for employers to employ adults with Down syndrome. They can be incredibly reliable employees. They'll show up every day on time, ready to work. They may require a bit of additional training, but once you've taken the time, you just see it as an investment. They're going to be happy to be there. They're going to be loyal employees. And once they're given the chance, they can really shine.
Mac's employment and academic achievements have enhanced his success for the future. I met Mac's mom, Molly, and asked her to share her views on social and behavioral inclusion. Molly, at what point did you realize that Mac could benefit from associating with kids his own age that were not Down syndrome?
Probably from a very early point in his life. Mac has two older sisters, and we saw that they were going to be his best teachers. So we knew that he was going to learn a lot about life in general just by being immersed with other friends and other kids and other family members.
Was it difficult getting cooperation from the teachers and schools to make sure that he had a totally inclusive education?
Actually, I think Mac had a really wonderful school experience, and I think part of that is his drive to try to do exactly what his sisters were always doing. When they were in sports, he wanted to be in sports. When they were in band, he wanted to be in band, all of those kinds of things. So teachers initially were afraid of how to do this with a student with Down syndrome in their class, but once they met Mac and saw all the information that we had prepared to share with them about our son, they were pretty enthusiastic about having him in their classroom.
Coming up, we'll hear more from April. Dr. Hickey talks about what life used to be like for people with Down syndrome, and Charissa talks about the value of social integration.
Whether you're a student needing answers, a parent needing help, or a concerned citizen wanting to make a difference, Life Issues Institute has the resources you need to put your values into action. Life Issues Institute is an international educational organization committed to protecting innocent human life. Life Issues Institute knows what it takes. That's why millions throughout the world turn here for help. Life Issues Institute has authored more pro-life publications than any other entity in the world, and its materials are printed in over 30 languages. Radio broadcasts, newsletters, and a website filled to the brim with the answers you're looking for are just a click away. Go to facinglife.tv and click on the link to Life Issues Institute to find out more about how you can change the heart of a nation.
This week, we're recognizing the positive developments being made in the Down syndrome community and how these young adults are involved in their local neighborhoods. As Dr. Hickey explains, this wasn't always the case. By your observation, society has really altered the way it views individuals with Down syndrome, right?
Yeah, I think that's been the biggest change. If you look at the big reason why the families are more accepted. You know, I remember growing up, I grew up in a big Irish Catholic area where I didn't even know the kids had Down syndrome when I was a kid. You know, they used to stay at home and nobody would ever take them out or do anything with the kids. And, you know, they were at home in those type of situations that existed, and the kids kind of live within that system with absolutely no intervention. I think people don't realize that all of that, interventions, even from early intervention to schools and everything, has made a big difference. But we have a long way to go.
What are some of the social and behavioral challenges for an adult with Down syndrome?
Social isolation is very huge. Transportation is an issue. Many adults with Down syndrome don't drive, and so they rely upon their parents or caregivers to transport them around the city. So a lot of times they aren't able to spontaneously just decide to go out with friends like their typical peers may be able to do. They have to line those things up ahead of time.
So the social isolation is more related to their lack of independence then versus society's attitude toward them.
Well, I think both come into play. In the past, there's been a tendency to separate individuals with disabilities from the rest of society, which is why a lot of these programs and things were instituted to keep that separation. And that gap is definitely closing as we continue on, but there are still a lot of socialization, separation issues that we need to deal with.
What are some of the ways that society can be more accommodating to young adults with Down syndrome?
I think the world would become more accommodating by more of the children and young adults being in those classrooms. If they're in there living with them, then the kids get to experience the fullness of that character, just like they would any other individual in that classroom. So I think the more kids are involved and included in their school community, the more accepting those young children will grow into as adults.
April's involvement within her high school has expanded into her community. She places physical health high on her list of priorities, which is why she independently meets with a personal trainer each week. Now, I heard you work out, and
Yes.
you've got a personal trainer, and you've recently lost a lot of weight. Tell me about that.
Actually, I lost 20 pounds. I was The Biggest Loser. It's my favorite TV show. So I lose that weight because I wanted to lose weight. Because when I started to lose weight, I was big. Then I be big, so I cut down my eating habits and to eat more less and drink lots of water to lose the weight.
According to the research published by the National Down Syndrome Congress, weight gain in individuals with Down syndrome is very typical due to hypothyroidism, which affects metabolism. Additional problems include diabetes, high cholesterol, heart disease, and high blood pressure. For April, losing 20 pounds is a huge accomplishment, one that will benefit her on many levels.
Remember last week on the elliptical when you got really tired?
Yes, I was
Because you
tired.
worked harder than you've ever worked before?
Yeah.
We watched that calories per minute
Yes.
to kind of measure our intensity.
Yeah.
We try and keep it above that 7 calories per minute. We got all the way up to 9 last week.
Wow.
April is determined to keep her heart healthy through exercise and diet, and with support and encouragement, she's doing a great job. Like April, Matt can be found in the university gym a few times a week. His strength training is building him both mentally and physically. When we return,
Just because you have a physical limitation or an intellectual disability doesn't mean that you aren't capable of living a successful, productive life.
and what do you want to do someday? Do you have goals that you want to reach?
Thank you for inviting us into your home. Each week we feature real people who deal with real life issues head on. Some of their experiences are uplifting, while others will break your heart. But in the end, the message is clear. Those who follow biblical principles on the issues of life are blessed. Become a partner with us in providing a positive, life-affirming message to help change the way the next generation values innocent human life. Please consider a generous gift to help offset the costs of producing this important quality programming. You can donate on our secure website at facinglife.tv or by calling the phone number on your screen during normal business hours. Together, we can make a real difference for life.
The resources available for young adults with Down syndrome have exponentially increased in the last 30 years. If you Google Down Syndrome Associations, you'll find over 500,000 links waiting to provide you with information. The expansion of social, employment, and medical resources is greatly enhancing their quality of life. So in addition to just getting the basic medical care they need, are there any breakthroughs that have added to that longevity?
That's a real good question. I would say, to be honest with you, the medical care has been the most important. And also the other breakthrough was in the 70s when there was deinstitutionalization of people who had mental retardation. That and having people in the community and active doing things has also increased it. So a lot of it has been medical, but backed by changes in society, more accepting and allowing them to go to their potential. There are some breakthroughs coming up probably in the next 5 or 10 years, but there is nothing that has been any earth-shattering regarding that. But the medical care is not that easy in a way. I mean, they need to be followed for hypothyroidism that is at a very high rate in compared to the general public. They have to have their vision and hearing followed very closely, and all these things add in their ability to do well in school and society.
So far, Mac's journey through life has proven to be filled with many social and academic achievements. What does the future look like? What do you think about when you think of Mac's adult life?
Well, I know what Mac would like. He wants a job that he would really love to do. He would love a girlfriend and would eventually like to get married. He definitely wants to live someplace other than with his parents.
So there's an independence streak.
Oh, very, very much so.
Do you think society is getting better about dealing with people with disabilities versus what we consider the normal segment of society?
I'm not sure you can consider it as dealing with individuals with disabilities, but I think people are becoming more educated about the capabilities of individuals with disabilities, that just because you have a physical limitation or an intellectual disability doesn't mean that you aren't capable of living a successful, productive life. So as society is being educated on that concept, I think there are a lot of improvements that are being made. A lot of adults with disabilities or adults with Down syndrome are being included in a variety of different employment possibilities and options. A lot of employment training programs being opened up so that adults with Down syndrome may be able to work at hospitals or an office. Things are improving. There's always a lot more to be done.
What do you want to do someday? Do you have goals that you want to reach?
My goals is have a job and to get married and go to college, and beyond that, the goals will keep on going down at my body weight.
April has goals and aspirations because she's thriving. Without a chance to be included in public school, community sports, and other activities, April's life would be much different. Coming up,
on the medical end, they get some of the things that could go wrong. And as a mom and a parent of Mac, I could explain to them the things that could go right.
Whether you're a student needing answers, a parent needing help, or a concerned citizen wanting to make a difference, Life Issues Institute has the resources you need to put your values into action. Life Issues Institute is an international educational organization committed to protecting innocent human life. Life Issues Institute knows what it takes. That's why millions throughout the world turn here for help. Life Issues Institute has authored more pro-life publications than any other entity in the world, and its materials are printed in over 30 languages. Radio broadcasts, newsletters, and a website filled to the brim with the answers you're looking for are just a click away. Go to facinglife.tv and click on the link to Life Issues Institute to find out more about how you can change the heart of a nation.
In a paper written by Dr. Dennis McGuire titled, "If People with Down Syndrome Ruled the World," he points out that hugging and caring would make a comeback. People would be honest and genuine. A stuffy, high society would be eliminated, and we'd all be inclined to take more time enjoying life. If you had the opportunity to sit across the table from a young couple who just found out the baby that they're expecting would have Down syndrome, what would you tell them?
I guess the nice thing about sharing that information with families that have prenatal diagnosis of Down syndrome, on the medical end, they get some of the things that could go wrong. And as a mom and a parent of Mac, I could explain to them the things that could go right, all the joys, all the wonderful things he's brought to our life. So having an opportunity to do that is also always a good thing, I think.
Well, the statistics of those parents who find out before birth about carrying a Down syndrome child are overwhelmingly in the category of deciding to terminate that pregnancy. What would you attribute that to?
Again, I think it might be the medical community or the sense of that as being a travesty. And in our situation, it has not been. I think it's just the acceptance, certainly the surprise when that information was shared with us, but in the case of a lot of families, knowing that if they go through some grieving period or something, they need to get past that and realize the joy that any individual can bring to a family.
What do you think the key is to helping society understand the enormous blessing of a child in their lives with Down syndrome?
Well, I think it's any child or any individual with any kind of a disability. I've met lots of families and children along the way that I've worked with in my avenues of working on inclusive education, and every single one of them I've met have brought something to their families, to their lives, and to their community.
As one who works in a job integrating adults with Down syndrome into society, what would you say to the parents' concern that they're worried about when their time comes to die, that there wouldn't be anybody there to take care of that child?
It's a troubling issue that a lot of parents of adults with Down syndrome face. You have to take those steps to plan for the future, to have some kind of plan set in place. There are some legal documents and things you may need to go through.
So you're saying that that's not an insurmountable problem for parents who are looking long term?
Absolutely not. It's something that is easy to push off to the side because it seems really overwhelming. But you can break it down and put it into small steps and seek out support. And the support is really not as hard to find as you would think. Because, I mean, once you ask for that